At Dartmoor Prison, an inmate stares out from his cell as he awaits a visitor. In the corridor outside, a new prison warder is keeping watch. His face is familiar to us. It is John Steed. The Springers, written by John Whitney and Geoffrey Bellman, produced by Leonard White and directed by Don Lever. At another prison somewhere in the east of England, Straker and Feeney welcome their new roommate Keel, known to them as Dr. Fenton. Straker is not happy about the new arrival and lets Keel know his feelings. Straker knows that Fenton, a drug dealer, has a history of prison breaks, but he is doubtful that the doctor will escape from this one. As Straker accosts the doctor, Keel is summoned to the governor's office, only to find Steed waiting there for him. Steed updates Keel on the news regarding the real Dr. Fenton. The department are trying to find an escape system operating from this jail and know that Fenton is aware of it. It is for this reason that they have had Fenton removed from Dartmoor before his transfer, and Keel has been planted in his place, complete with fake scar to match that of Fenton's. Steed tells Keel of a meeting between the real Dr. Fenton and a visitor at Dartmoor, which was covertly taped. The pair discussed horse racing, but Steed discovered that their conversation was a coded discussion regarding the escape route. Steed has deciphered the code and thinks that the route involves a nearby canal system leading to Belport, a town on the coast. Several previous escaped convicts have been picked up in Norway, so the route must go from Belport by boat across to Scandinavia. Keel returns to his cell, wondering what will happen next. Soon he is on slopping out duty and is picked on by prison officer Haslam, who has clearly taken a dislike to him. Some time later, Steed visits 110 to deliver a progress report. A trip along the canal has not uncovered anything suspicious, so he will head for Belport. 110 reveals that Fenton's Dartmoor visitor has been staying in London, where he recently cashed a cheque for £50. The cheque came from a man named Groves, the principal of Belport College for Young Ladies. In the guise of a Commander Kenilworthy, Steed proceeds to visit Belport College with a girl pretending to be his teenage daughter, Melone. They are greeted by a pupil called Caroline, who is staying at the school for the holidays as her parents are abroad. Caroline takes them to Groves, and Steed explains to him that he needs to finish in school for his daughter Melone, as he will soon be leaving for another tour of duty at sea. After a short interview, they are shown around the school and meet Lisa, the school matron, and another parent called Neem, who seems rather familiar with the woman. Steed and Melone return to a local hotel, having agreed to revisit the college the next day. They are planning dinner when 110 telephones. The contact for the escape route is heading for Belport. Can Steed go back to the school to hide a tape recorder there? He can retrieve the recorder and any taped conversations the next day. Steed leaves Melone to her lone champagne dinner and a consolation bunch of flowers. Back at the prison, Keel and his fellow cellmates have a visit from Haslam. Haslam sends the other two prisoners out in order to give Keel some of his own rough justice. But as soon as they are alone, Haslam reveals himself to be the prison contact for the escape route and tells Keel that now is the time for him to leave. Haslam gives Keel his officer's coat and route information, asking to be knocked out in order to keep up the pretense. A swift punch and Keel is outside following Haslam's instructions. He scales the wall and is picked up by Lisa, the matron from Belport College. Just as they leave, the alarm is raised. At the school, Neem gives Groves the news of the prison break, reported on the radio. A false trail has been left leading to an abandoned car to put the police off the scent. There is even sand from Dorset under the car mat to further confuse matters. Neem and Groves await the arrival of Fenton. At the same time, Keel and Lisa have arrived at a lockkeeper's house, ready to go on to Belport in the morning. Waiting in Groves' office, Neem hears an odd sound from across the room. He investigates and finds Steed in the act of planting a recording device. Neem pulls a gun on Steed and orders him to get up, just as the telephone rings. It is Lisa reporting from the lockkeeper's cottage. Neem tells her to bring Fenton over rather than spend the night at the cottage. The authorities must be onto them, so they will need to move fast. Melone has become concerned about Steed and calls 110. It is 2 hours since he left, and so far there has been no sign of him. 110 warns her off any attempt to look for the agent. Steed is quite capable of looking after himself. Steed is being held in Grove's office as Neem considers his next move. At that moment Lisa and Keel arrive, interrupting Neem's plans for Steed. Keel is told he will be kept at the college until his identity has been verified. Neem reassures Lisa while Steed is locked up elsewhere in the college. The main priority now is to get Fenton on his way. Melone has left the hotel, ignoring 110's advice, and she returns to the college. She meets Caroline and claims to have arranged to meet her father, the commander there, to continue their tour, but she can't find him. Caroline recommends she sees Mr. Groves and agrees to take her to him. Inside the college, Steed is locked up in a trunk store, but strikes it lucky as one of his captors has dropped the handcuff key. Now if only he can reach it. Meanwhile, Keel is having trouble convincing the gang of his identity. He has met Arthur, another contact, in Grove's office, and Arthur is sure that Keel is not Fenton. After all, Arthur was the man who passed the code message on to Fenton in Dartmoor a few days earlier. Neem hesitates, having been interrupted by Caroline and Melone, who are looking for Groves. Suddenly, Keel pulls a gun on the group, having lifted it earlier from one of Neem's men, who is now unconscious upstairs. The tables are turned just as Steed arrives. "A busy day at the surgery," the agent comments.